Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. As I promised you, today's adventure is going to be making another make your own gear video. And today we're going to make a bear bag, a food bag. I'll show you how easy it is to do. I'll give you a list of all the materials and show you the process. With that said, in order not to waste any more time, let's get to it. Okay, here's a couple food bags I have. This is one I bought from a manufacturer. This is one I made. As you can see, mine is about 4 inches taller. I like that. It gives me a little extra roll down so that when it's hanging it doesn't open up at all. It also gives me a good 5 or 6 days worth of food in there. So couple things I do differently on mine. As you can see, reflective patches on it. I like to do that so that when you hear a crash in the night and you wonder if an animal knocked your food out of the tree, you could shine your light up and see if you see the reflection, you know you're still got breakfast coming. The other thing I like to do, some of the manufacturers only put one hang loop on it. I put two. I like to use them both. That puts less strain on the buckle, as well as if one, it doesn't put too much stress on a single loop. So those are things that I do. And of course, pull tabs, I'll show you those. Next, I'll give you a list of all the materials. All right. Materials. First of all, this is what that's the material list for this. And going through that, first we have a piece of 1.43 ounce Dyneema composite fabric, DCF. That measurement is 16 by 50 inches. The 1.43 ounce refers to the weight of the material per yard. All right. Next, we got two double-sided Velcro with that's from a trade. It's a trade name called One Wrap that seals the top. I got 1/2 inch gross grain, 7 inches long. This will form the hang loops. 1/2 inch gross grain, 4 inches long. That'll fasten the side release buckle that closes the bag or when you roll it. 2 pieces of 1 inch by 3 inch long grosgrain. Those will be folded over to form the tabs that you open the bag with. And sorry about the glare. 2 pieces of reflective tape. I will round the corners before I put them on. That minimizes how much you snag and peel them as you use the bag. Essentially, that's it. I'll be using black thread so it contrasts with the blue. And to do the side seams, I'll be using a number 10 needle because it's a finer needle, makes smaller holes, less chance of leakage. But I will be, I don't have it here, but I will be putting in a seal tape on it, and I'll show you that when I get to it. But when I start doing these and sewing these, I will step up to a larger needle, probably an 11 or 12, for a little bit of strength so that I make sure I don't snap the needle off. That being said, we're going to get started. All right. I folded at the bottom. I like to put the fold at the bottom instead of sewing an L, because most of the stress is going to be at the bottom. So I'm going to run seam this side and then a seam this side. I'm not worried about having to sew, like on a rucksack, to sew the channel first because this opening is big enough. So, that being said, let's get this started. I leave about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which means the excess fabric on the seam. Let me get you a little closer here. Alright. Couple back stitches to lock the thread. tag ends of thread. There. We'll pull it. Done on that side. Alright, as you can see, I'm folding the seam over right at that stitch line, and then in that little bit of fabric I'll add another row of stitching about 1/8 of an inch from that row. That's one. And there you go. There you go. One stitch row at the very corner. I folded it over, and now you can see the other stitch. Now we generally have our sack. Now all the rest of the work is going to be done here. Now you got to remember, this is the inside of the bag that we're sewing these seams on. So I'm going to sew the Velcro on this side and such. You'll see that as I go. One thing I forgot to tell you is, since I don't cut my fabric with a hot knife, I have a little work I have to do. I have to take the ends of my materials and melt them so they don't fray. I do this with all my cut pieces. What this does is it melts all the fibers at the end, at the cut end, together, and minimizes how much the edges will fray. These are not going to, normally these wouldn't be a big deal because they're going to get sewed and buried, but it makes for a nicer job. I just use a candle. You can see some fibers right there. Now you won't see them. Doesn't take much. Does take a little practice not to burn more than you want. Alright, I'm going to get set up for the next step, and I'll bring you back on and show you what I'm doing. Alright, I took my one wrap, and I double checked my measurements. I made it a little shy, so I had to cut a little off. And that's going to get centered there. And then the other piece, so that the hook and the loops face each other, I'll do the other piece the other way. All right, at this point I got a few little things to do before we do the final sew on. I take my 1" by 3" grosgrain. I'm going to fold them in half. And I'm going to quick stitch them onto the one wrap. And those will be the pull tabs for opening the bag. So I'm going to do that right now. Also, what I'll be doing now is forming the loops and attaching the buckles to the grosgrain. That'll be like that. I'm going to sew these all up now so they're ready for the final install. I marked my one wrap where the pull tabs are going to go. And I'm just going to give them a quick one single stitch, single row of stitching. Just to hold them in place. Now they'll get sewed on better when I sew the Velcro onto the bag. So I'm not worried about the back stitch. Just get the opening tab sewed on the Velcros, on the one wrap. Now, with my buckle, I'm going to put straps on. These I'll sew on. But I'm just putting a quick sew on them now. And I do that by straight stitch, and then a bar tack. And I just broke the needle. I cut out the cursing. I broke my 12 needle, so I put a 14 in, which is a thicker needle. And I did my bar tack across. And that'll be for that one. I'll do the same. Sorry. I'll do the same with this one. First I'll put a little quick stitch down there to keep the two lengths from going sideways when I'm trying to do a cross stitch. Excuse me. Again, it's just something to hold, to keep it from sliding this way. Alright, now I'm going to do a cross stitch right behind the buckle, and that will truly secure it. Now, a bar tack is essentially a straight stitch. Covered by a very tight zigzag. Perfect. The tag ends up. Okay. Those are the buckle piece. With this buckle, there's a slight curve to it. Like it's a belt buckle, got a slight curve. So I'll be careful about how I sew it on so they match up. Like I said, not important, but a nice piece as far as workmanship goes. And then we're going to make the loops for hanging. I'm not going to worry about bar tacking these right now because when I put them on a bag, I'll give them a bar tack. But I will sew a stitch down the middle. And again, that'll keep the alright, I was on zigzag. What that does is, when I try to sew across, sometimes, see if I can show this, the ends will try to go. Alright, let me see. If I try to sew across, sometimes the ends start doing this. So, stitch down the middle keeps them from doing that. I don't have to go far. Don't forget, I gotta leave a loop. So I just do about an inch or so near the two cut ends. When that gets mounted on the bag where it belongs, it'll get a bar tack and an X box. Alright, ready to add those components to the bag. Now, for the strength of the sewing, I don't want to sew through just one layer of fabric here. For added strength, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this down. And what that'll do is give me 2 layers of fabric to sew through for strength. Alright, I have it folded over. I creased it the width of the Velcro. Alright, I gotta make sure the gripper tab is underneath the Velcro. I'm gonna center this in place. Perfect. And then I'm going to put a row of stitching top and bottom. Let me show you that better yet. Alright. I'm going to put a row of stitching here and here along the edges. I'm not going to worry about doing these quite yet because I'm going to put some other stuff on, but on the other side. Right now we're working, this is the inside of the bag you're looking at. So I'm going to center this. What I'll do is I'll start sewing along the edges. And I'll just make 2 runs down there and I'll add more if I need to after the fact. So, but what I will like to do, I'm just going to mark the ends, just so I know where it goes. And just so while I'm sewing it, I can make sure I'm staying where I'm supposed to be. This is going to be with a straight stitch. My main focus is going to be aligning the edge of the Velcro with the top where it's folded. There we go. When I get to the pull tab, I'm going to put extra stitching in. Maybe even a bar tack. Go back to stitch. Voila. Hook side is out here, so I gotta make sure the fuzzy side is out here. That's one of the reasons dumping that, putting those tabs on helps out. Because if you put them on the opposite ones, you won't make a mistake. All right, so we've got most of these sewn all over. And again, remember, we're working on the inside of the bag. The only thing else we have to do from the inside is seal the edge seams against rain. I'll do that at the end. Another thing, some of the manufacturer bags, they seal under these threads of this. I'm not worried about it because generally you have you're going to roll them up and they won't have any exposure. And I don't worry about it because, again, my bag is a little longer and I get a couple extra rolls out of it. But for the rest, what we're going to do now is put the buckles and the hang straps on. So we're going to invert the bag. Because now we're going to work on the outside. And just so you know, everything works right. Beautiful. Okay, next step, we're going to put on the buckles. The buckles will go right here and sticking just out past the edge of the bend of the seams. All right, I'm going to tack that down with a quick tack because I still have to sew on the hang loops right there. All right, and I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to tack the buckle at this time so it stays in place. And then I will, when I do the hang loops, then I'll sew it all down one time. And this buckle I will put directly in the middle of that. And of course you want the buckle to stick out a little bit past the seam or the edge of the bag. that one. The seam is right there, and the bar tack I made is right over the seam, which lets it stick out past the folded seam about 1/4 of an inch. And I'm trying to get that right in the middle of the one wrap. Okay. If the bag is sealed, that'll stick out about that much. Now come the loops. All right. What I'm going to do here, since the loops take all the weight when the food is hanging, that's why I made them longer, so I can sew more and better secure it. Kind of make the loop just a little past the buckle there, like that. And I'll sew that from the Velcro edge all the way back and then back again. And that, I'll put a couple bar tacks at the beginning, since that's where the most stress will be. And I'll Now when I sew this down, I'll also be fully sewing down the Velcro and the buckle as well. And I'm going to take my chalk. Just want to mark where the edge of the Velcro is. So that I know where I got to put my bar tack. Okay, can you see that? That's my chalk. That means I got to put, that's where I'm going to swing around, sew this way, put a bar tack for strength. And we're good. That's that one. I don't know. Nope, can't see it. But essentially I have stitches around the entire box, a bar tack over here, and then diagonal stitches across the box from corner to opposite corner. Now it's time to do the other side. Sorry. Again, I want to mark where the edge of the Velcro is. Just so you know, that's Taylor's chalk. I want to give myself a little more loop. See if I can get this closer. Okay, last side of stitching, and I'll put the bar tack there. regular stitching. Got that in there, we're going to turn it. Now we're going to do our diagonal box stitch. %done. All right. Boom, boom. And you got 2 loops to hang on your carabiner. I like to do that. Takes a lot of stress off the buckle and gives you a backup if one breaks anyway. All right. Waterproofing we do from the inside, and I'll show you that as soon as I get it set up. All right, see if I can show you this. To seam seal the tape, you see there's one row of thread right at the edge and another one about 1/8 of an inch in. I'll set my tape about 1/4 inch over this side, run it down, and then what I'll do is I'll flip the tape over, and that'll give me enough extra tape to cover this 3/16 1/4 inch of fabric, as well as grab the adjoining fabric to create a watertight seal. For that, I'm using Dyneema seal seam tape. It's about an inch wide. Comes in like 54-inch length, so I got one long enough and 2 pieces that'll be long enough. And all that is essentially applying tape to make sure you cover the seam and attach it to the fabric of the bag on both sides of the seam. And you can watch me do that. Toughest part with this stuff is getting it off the backing. That's one side. I'll go ahead and do the other side. All right. Final reversal. Pushing out the corners is the toughest part. You can do that with a pencil or something like that. last thing that I do, of course, reflective tape. I think I mentioned it. I round the corners. That way, if it doesn't have a sharp corner, it's less likely to get caught on your sleeve or some cloth and get pulled off. This is just adhesive. You can buy something that you iron on. I tried it. It eventually came off. That was that other tape you saw. You just round the corners a little like that. And I'll put those on. Like I said, I like to have reflective tape on it. First of all, 80% of the bags out there are this blue color. So if you're at a site and there's 10 or 15 people, you got to remember which one is yours. So if you've got a little different design, some people actually, they buy, you know, bags with printed designs on them. The other thing, as I said, if you're in your tent and you hear something, you think something got your food bag, you stick a flashlight out the tent, shine it up into the trees. If you see a reflection, you know your food bag is still up. There you go. Let's see. I think I left it a little longer than my other one. Yeah, it is. A couple inches longer. It was not my intention. I think I cut it a little long on the fabric and didn't double check it. But that's that. Let's see. And there's the bag. Well, everyone, there you go, a food bag. You can make it any length you want. You can make it bigger width. You can size it to fit your pack. Now you know the procedure. My materials and equipment, my component suppliers are down in the description. You'll look at them. I have no affiliation with them. They're just companies I do business with or I buy stuff from. So I don't make any money off any of this. I don't monetize my videos. But anyway, I just put it out there for you. And what I would appreciate is a comment. Certainly add a comment. It's nice to see when people are engaged. And if you feel like it, right down in that corner right there, hit that subscribe button. And then you can follow me as I go on my on the trail. And when I get back, I'll do more make your own gear videos. All right.